Today I'm in Frascati, Italy, and I'm going to take a look at these Roman architectural subterranean buildings that I found while walking in this green space or park just outside my children's daycare. Welcome to Italy. So I was watching a video about Rome last night, and they were saying how a lot of the ancient structures are buried under the ground. So it's possible, and I think these are like very funny things to find here. I thought they were just like the caps of something, but it's possible there's like a whole subterranean structure here that's been buried to build something else. But this wasn't obvious to me at first, but there's this alignment here of these pools or fountains. And the alignment goes straight there with 3. And then it continues here to the sides at a similar angle. So this fountain is noticeably different than the other ones. It seems like maybe it's slightly larger, but it's deeper. And there's what's left of whatever was here in the middle that was part of the fountain. Here's the other top of what looks like a carved pillar. I don't see any obvious clear bottom of it. So it's possible this continues on through the bottom, or if it does end, but I don't see the evidence exactly of it, maybe it was something that a statue or something was on the top. It appears there was some sort of metal reinforcement here, so maybe there was a statue or something else at the top originally. Here, what maybe looks just like ordinary garden stones, this could be the top of a wall or retaining wall or some other feature. Here I find another column. They're all different heights. This maybe just leads me to believe that they were similar height, but the ground is different than it was originally. Here we can see there's different walls and different construction types. Maybe they were made at different times, different eras. That would be consistent with what I read about these kinds of Roman sites that were then developed later during the Renaissance period, and then again in the 1900s. You have this kind of like layer cake approach where there's the original at the lowest level, and then it continues to build up and build up, often by burying the original. This is something that stands out for me also because it differs from the construction around it. You'll see there's this retaining wall that looks like it was maybe added later as like a feature for gardens, but then you have this kind of box-like top, and it's been cemented over with what to me looks like quite modern techniques. So maybe it was sealed for safety. It could be that it was open and to collect rainwater into a cistern below. Just to provide some contrast, this to me looks like it's decorative for a garden, plants or something like that. And this one reads much more like a circular well or opening for a cistern. It looks like it was intentionally filled or covered for safety or for aesthetic reasons. So for me, what's interesting here, what looks like could be a natural hill. You can see how it's going up. There's some stairwells going down. It doesn't look like, to me, to be completely man-made, although it is quite flat and a bit raised. But there's something underneath. And what? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find. This is an interesting place here. We have, to me, what looks like very modern construction techniques, very angular, although I could be wrong. A very angular, I don't know, pit or recessed area. I don't know how far it goes down or what it's for. And then to me, what looks like maybe not super modern, but we have brick laying techniques, and this is quite different from the Roman style things I'll show you in a bit. And you have this other recessed area, which could be a collapsed room or a water feature of some sort. And here we have what looks like the original bricklaying that's been covered with something else to make it look more rustic. And my understanding is this rustic construction techniques might have been during the rustic construction techniques might have been either during the Renaissance style gardens or 19th century gardens. I'll have to look and get some clarification on that. Vantage point. I don't know if it comes off in the video, but for me, it's very clear this delineation. It comes almost to a rectangular corner here and then continues this direction. There's a slight recess or road that's going down the side. So maybe there was retaining walls, or maybe there's some substructure underneath. And is this just incredibly massive tree? I don't know what kind of tree this is, but it's very, very big and a very, very old tree. And you can see it's perfectly in alignment with this water feature. I have the super wide angle lens on the iPhone here, but it's very big. How wide? 2 or 3 meters at the base, at the widest point. And here we come to one of the more interesting areas. And I think this is the one that's showing that it's very old Roman style architecture. I don't know from what period. We have this wall here. And maybe this wall's been built in different periods, you can see. Maybe it's covering up something here similar. And here, you can see that it was covered up. And we can take a look more closely. So my understanding is that this archway and this cement with local rock structure that's exposed is very indicative of this Roman style architecture. You can see here it's collapsing where they've covered up in many successive levels, including an iron gate. But if we zoom in, we can see some other details. For example, inside, we have a mix. There's something that's obviously stacked bricks, and on the right side, we have different construction technique that looks more like the original tunnel or space. And on the left side, it could be similar to the right, but it looks much older. And something goes back around those bricks. I don't know. Maybe the bricks are just to obscure the view and deter people from going in there. I'm not sure. Here's another piece. I almost missed it. It's hiding also in plain view. It appears to be an identical Roman style passageway, maybe down. It's been walled up with more modern bricklaying techniques that seem to be intact. So we have one here that's slightly recessed. It's maybe 1 meter back. They're on the same plane. This one is flush. And here, it's not clear, but if I were to guess, maybe this structure here is to prevent a collapse or the retaining wall from collapsing. So maybe it's related or not related, but it's quite wide and about the same size as this if you had covered the entire entrance. So maybe there was 3 of these, all slightly offset. There's at least 2. And they're also facing directly into Rome. So they're facing west. We're on the east side of Rome. I don't have the exact map, but I'm approximating. But they face directly into like the center of Rome. It's obviously by design. So here we have a mix of techniques. It looks like we have the brick laying technique, and it's been covered with other rocks or other elements to give it a more rustic look. You can even see here in the stairs, original bricks that were below. They were then later covered with this concrete and rough stone, big stone look. And we have this retaining wall that goes along the edge. And quite dangerous, I think, for kids and things, perhaps, but there's this hole that goes quite far down. A bunch of junk and things that have been thrown in there. I also just noticed this feature here. This also looks quite strange. Looks like a tree was growing out and maybe breaking the retaining wall. So perhaps it was extended out, or there's multiple layers here. This to me looks like it was an archway and it's been covered up like a window, similar in shape and structure to this one. And here I see the same indication. There's kind of circular structure like the top of a arch, and then it's with bricks, and then it's been boarded up with some modern techniques. Now here we have a very clear indication of a window with bars on it. And there's one more. If I go up here, I'm not sure I want to go too close because it looks like it's collapsing. But this looks like it could be similar to the other ones. And even farther up, we have a small one here. So we know for sure there's a subterranean structure here. What looks like it's a retaining wall. And just part of the decor of the landscape architecture is actually some sort of subterranean building of some sort. Here I've turned on my camera in an attempt to see if we can see anything inside here that would be interesting. I can't really see while I'm shooting the video, but I'll take a look a little bit later. And here I'm also shooting some video with the light on to try to get a better view of what's inside this window to better understand the space. This is just to show the space from a bit farther away so we can understand what it looks like altogether. So just to give some macro context, this is all what just appears to be a park where people take their dogs to go walk. And at the villa, this is where the subterranean building is. And you can see here we have more modern features. You can see the columns, you can see the alignment of the fountains that were here. And on top of this wall is the villa that I think was built in the 19th century, which ironically is like a high school. You probably can't see it from here. It's a high school and primary school and daycare. It's a very interesting thousands of years history just right below us when we're walking through what appears to just be a normal green space or a park.